Today's video is brought to you by Chaotic Innovator. I think we all know there's more than enough gaming channels on YouTube, and most of them fucking suck. Chaotic Innovator is actually a fucking innovator in that his approach to gaming content isn't just like, I'm playing games, guys, watch me play. He actually brings a cerebral element of using games as sort of a jumping point to talk about social issues, philosophy, whatever. Just interesting concepts that you can derive from playing video games. Check it out.
Not being able to do certain things like killing kids is only going to hinder that illusion and contribute to ruining the game experience for many people. The very same thing applies to being able to kill any adult essential characters or anyone else for that matter. Here is a message to all gaming developers and gaming companies, especially you, Bethesda. You cannot let censorship run rampant on your games.
If you enjoyed that, subscribe to his channel down below. It's the very first link in the description section. Three closeted gay fictional characters. In real life, especially in the times when being gay was social suicide, there's always been people who pretend to be heterosexual when they just simply aren't. People who are in the closet. Why should fiction be any different? Here's my list of three fictional characters that I'm pretty sure are closet homosexuals. And I'm skipping over the super obvious ones like Jafar from Aladdin, Bluto, and possibly Popeye too. Popeye and Bluto always found themselves violently at odds with one another, and typically the catalyst for this animus was that they both inexplicably desire the affections of this revolting creature known as Olive Oil. She looks like a grandma with a bad dye job that someone put in a taffy puller. She has no curves to speak of. She just looks as plain and homely as she could possibly be. And you might say, well, TJ, looks aren't everything. Okay, that's fine, but her personality is dog shit too. Not only does she more often than not play Popeye and Bluto against each other, but she's shrill.
Who's that knocking at my door? Who's that knocking at my door?
And uptight and bland. So why are they always fighting over her? Well, in Popeye's case, maybe he doesn't have a choice. I mean, he looks like a stroke victim with tumors in his forearms. But Bluto isn't bad looking. I mean, he's not depicted as gorgeously handsome, but he could be nailing at least a 6. Why isn't he out there smashing Betty Boop? She might have a head shaped like a piece of toast, probably due to hydrocephaly or something, but at least she's got some junk in the trunk and some boobies to play with. Come on. It only makes sense if you realize that Bluto isn't really interested in Olive Oil, but Popeye. And it's true, as I said, Popeye is not a looker, but while Olive Oil is stunningly unfeminine, Popeye is extremely masculine. Bluto is attracted to that rugged manliness and that scrappy spirit. But he lives in a time when such feelings would make him an outcast. And so the only socially acceptable way he can keep Popeye in his life is to antagonize him by pretending to be a competing suitor for the hand of Olive. Whenever Popeye eats that spinach and manhandles Bluto, if you look really closely, you can see that Bluto has a boner the entire time. Getting punished by Popeye is his favorite part of any day. Trust me. Mr. Miyagi. A lot of people won't want to hear this, but Mr. Miyagi is clearly not only a gay man, but a pederast who was grooming Daniel throughout the original Karate Kid trilogy. In the first film, Mr. Miyagi takes Daniel under his wing, teaching him karate and making him accept Miyagi as his master. By the next film, they're taking trips together, and by the third film, they're living together. In the first film, Daniel had a mother. Remember her? You never see her in either sequel. You never get to see that probably really tense conversation where she demands to know why, instead of making friends his own age, he's spending all of his free time around an old Asian man. The first Karate Kid is full of moments where Miyagi and Daniel's relationship verges on inappropriate. But it's the Karate Kid 2 where I find the most evidence for the gay Miyagi theory. The premise of Karate Kid 2 is that Miyagi must return to his childhood home in Okinawa because his father is dying. There, he is confronted by a former childhood friend named Sato, who still bears a grudge against Miyagi for stealing his bride-to-be, a girl named Yuki. When Sato challenged Miyagi to a fight to the death for Yuki's hand, the pacifist Miyagi chose instead to flee the country and never look back. This is the story we're given by Miyagi, but it contains a lot of problems. First of all, if Miyagi is such a pacifist that he would abandon his home country, why was he a combat veteran, as established in the first film? And when he left Okinawa, why didn't he just take Yuki with him when he fled the country? Hell, in Karate Kid 2, he rekindles his romance with Yuki, even saying he wants to take her back with him to America. Is she in Karate Kid 3?
No.
Because Mr. Miyagi isn't really interested in Yuki. Here's what I think really happened. Miyagi was in love with Sato, and when Sato spurned his advances, Miyagi made a play at Yuki to hurt Sato and possibly to make him see that she would not be faithful to him. Sato was enraged and wanted Miyagi dead, so Miyagi fled the country rather than being forced to fight the boy that he was in love with. When Miyagi returned to the island years later, he pretended to reciprocate Yuki's interest in him because he's been in the closet long enough to know how to feign interest in women. If his interest was genuine, why was she not in the third film? Sato and Miyagi were reconciled. Yuki was willing to relocate to America. Miyagi also stated he was willing to come back to live in Okinawa. So what broke them up? The only thing I can think of is Miyagi's true feelings. By the third movie, Miyagi is not living with Yuki, but with his true love, Daniel-san. You'll also notice that Daniel in the third film seems a great deal moodier than in previous installments. This is because he is at the point where he's becoming aware of Miyagi's manipulative nature and just how he has been used. It's no shock that by the fourth film, the next Karate Kid, Daniel is completely out of the picture and doesn't even make a cameo. Why? Because Miyagi has driven him away. Daniel was never interested in Miyagi. He was just groomed into passively accepting the relationship through carefully orchestrated manipulation. Watch these films with this interpretation in mind and tell me I'm wrong. Kermit the Frog. Here's a quick hypothetical for you. There's a busty blonde that is ravenously hungry for your dick at all times. You are a heterosexual male. For most men, that would be a fantasy come true. For Kermit the Frog, it's a nuisance that makes his face pucker in disgust. Miss Piggy, who is easily the hottest Muppet, has made it her mission in life to make green eggs and ham with Kermit. And he's actively terrified of this prospect. Why? Because he'd rather be making the Rainbow Connection, which is a bomb-ass song, honestly, but let's be real here. Rainbow Connection sounds like a gay dating app. And listen to some of these lyrics. Have you been half asleep and have you heard voices? I've heard them calling my name. Is this the sweet sound that calls to young sailors? The voice might be one and the same. I've heard it too many times to ignore it. It's something that I'm supposed to be. Someday we'll find it, the Rainbow Connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. Kermit is singing about rainbows, young sailors, and a little voice inside that tells him what he's supposed to be, that he finds it really hard to ignore. I mean, this ain't Village People level gay, but this is at least Top Gun level gay. Some people seem to be on to Kermit. I've seen a few memes that suggest that I'm not the first to notice that Kermit is obviously gay, but it still doesn't seem to have caught on in popular culture yet. I mean, everyone knows that SpongeBob doesn't just live in a fruit under the sea, he is one. Everyone knows that pretty much every character from the 80s is gay. Everyone knows that Bert and Ernie are packing more than just boxes. But it seems like many people don't have their gaydars tuned to the frequency that Kermit is laying down, and the frequency Kermit is laying down with other men. You might not like it, but Kermit is a filthy green cum dumpster, and Miss Piggy ain't never getting any of that green sausage. That's my list. If you enjoyed it, give this channel a sub, and let me know what you thought by rating and commenting on this video. Your input is very valuable. Thanks for watching. See you next time.